Good morning, everyone. Beautiful day, beautiful Sunday. We are here on the Sunday for the morning coffee for the soul. We are going to talk, we have been talking about Ben Franklin's 13 virtues. Now, this has been, and I'm going to share this on my Facebook. So just give me some time. And I think that's it. So, anyway, we are on week 7, and how fast does time go? I just proposed to do this for 13 weeks, and I thought, wow, this is going to be quite a long journey. But again, we're over half our journey. And today we're talking about sincerity. Ben Franklin had devised 13 different virtues that he wanted to really check himself and put himself every week, every night, every day. He would try to check and see himself on how he was doing on these specific virtues. And on the 7th virtue, he decided to work on sincerity. Now, sincerity is one of those virtues that we all like to say that we are sincere, that we are people who are sincere, truthful, and we can be people that others rely on. Now, why is sincerity so difficult to achieve? A lot harder than we think. First of all, Ben Franklin said something about sincerity. He says that it's that we should use no hurtful deceit. We should never use any hurtful deceit. That we should think innocently and just. Innocently and just. And that if you speak, you should speak accordingly. So Ben was a big believer of speaking the truth. Yet, throughout his life, there was a lot of times, especially as such a public figure, such a person that would need to convince others, especially as a politician as well. There's always that part of people needing to use what we call the white lies. So let's focus first of all about honesty. Being sincere is really speaking from the heart. Being a person that's talking with the truth, that is speaking the truth. How many of us speak the truth the entire time? Can you say that you are a completely sincere person? Can you say that you do not lie? Well, studies confirm that we lie from 10 to 200 times a day. That is the average of a person who lies. So a lie is told from our mouth. On average, we tell 10 lies to 200 lies in one day. These are studies in Psychology Today and different research. And there's indication that it can go even up. It's in the upwards, not so much the 10 lies, but it's actually, it depends how much you speak. But 10 lies are the minimum that we tell a day. So are all lies considered the same? And why do we lie? Why are we not sincere? Why don't we tell people exactly what is on our mind and what we believe to be the truth? Because we could lie not having the entire information, and that is a difficult situation because you don't have the entire information to be saying what you're saying, and it can end up being not a truthful statement. So that is why even in Spiritism, we are so careful not to pass judgment. Judgment is one of those things that why even bother doing it? Because we never have the entire information. We can kind of base our information, base our decision or our statement on the information we have, but we can never be sure that that is the whole truth and nothing but the truth, because we never know the full story of somebody. You have a story, I have a story. Nobody will know exactly why I do the things I do, because it'll take a lifetime to tell my entire story. So we're making assumptions. And assumptions, when you assume, you make a out of you and I, right? So that is why we assume a lot. And then we speak. And by speaking, we don't speak with the entire amount of information. We end up lying. We end up misleading and passing wrong information. Why do we lie? Well, a lot of times we lie to avoid punishment. A police officer can stop us and we're driving and he say, do you know what your speed limit was? And perhaps you knew exactly what it was, but you try to say, well, it was only 62 when it was in truth 75. We try to avoid punishment. Anything that causes us pain, our defense mechanism kind of, tells us to avoid pain. So we use this resource of lying. And a lot of times we think it causes no harm. How many times children do that? Did you do your homework? Yes, because they avoid punishment. And that is also um, interesting because punishments will only work on a short term basis for the most time. That is why understanding, dialoguing, talking is really the best policy. Why didn't you do your homework? Did you need more time? Did you not understand the homework? Are you really not doing your homework because the games are more interesting? And then you take, as a parent, just giving an example, but all the time we tell lies to avoid punishment to our spouses, to our friends. Um, I like to say a few of the white lies that we say all the time, the times that we're not sincere. When you first meet someone, maybe you meet that person and you don't like them, but you say, I am pleased, I am honored to meet you. Are you truly pleased to meet them? Sometimes someone will ask us, what do you think? Do you think my new haircut looks good? Do you think that, my boyfriend is a good looking guy or whatever it is? And then we say, yes, you look um, great and you look amazing. And in truth, we don't believe that. I know there's a commercial where um, the husband was said to he was asked to tell the truth all day or something like that, and the wife comes and she's trying on dresses, and she comes to him and she says, do you think that this dress makes me look bigger? And he says, oh honey, it's not the dress. So you see, be careful how truthful and how sincere you're being. And that's going to bring us to the second part, which, do you need to be brutally honest? Do you need to actually um, get to the point where you are arrogant or you're cruel within your words? Is that something that we really have to um, think about? Because some people will say, well, I am brutally honest. Well, if you look at Ben's 13 virtues, if you're cruel in your words, if you're prideful for being right and showing the other one wrong, you're kind of killing one virtue to exercise the other virtue. So some people are very proud of themselves and they're actually boasting on how honest and how sincere they are. And that is actually a fall on itself because you are exercising one of the worst of the things that we have to work on ourselves, which is pride. So again, white lies. I'm pleased to meet you. When you're bargaining, oh, this is the best price I can do, or oh, this is. So we lie all the time, small lies. Oh, my boss, if you're paid to lie, if you're at work, somebody calls and your boss tells you what to say, and you have to say what he says. So you are deceiving the person who's on the other line when they say, is your boss around? And you say, no, he's in a meeting. No, he's not here. Or when you ask your children to say, listen, if you're home alone and a stranger knocks on the door, you're always going to say, my daddy's in the shower, or my mom's busy, she can't come to the door. So we are, in a way, still in a society that needs to use some form against, right, as a protection. So there are, you see, not everything is to be put in the same box because sometimes we're avoiding punishment, sometimes we are protecting ourselves or our loved ones. So we use some type of lie. Sometimes we're just being polite, and someone says, "Oh, you did a great job," or and you say, "Oh, thank you, you too." Or we use these little things to not be seen as an impolite person. Oh, I really didn't like your look today, or your painting was awful. Or a child comes to you and says, do you think this is beautiful? And maybe it's not the best work you've seen, but you still say that it's beautiful. And sometimes we even lie to avoid embarrassment. We don't want to feel embarrassed, so sometimes we can even do that. We lie to avoid being embarrassed. So someone may say, "Oh, did you pay attention to that lecture? Did you?" And you say, "Oh, yeah, it was a great lecture." In reality, you were on your cell phone texting during the lecture. So you don't want to be embarrassed, so you end up lying. So again, research shows that we lie from 10 to 200 times in a day. So we do quite a lot. Spiritism, why does Spiritism say about it? On question 628 on the Spirits book, one of the things that really caught my attention is when one of the spirits that answer that question says that truth is like light. Men still have to get used to it. We are still step by step getting used to the truth, to being truthful, to telling the truth, to being sincere. But it is the path to evolution. It is a path to being a pure and a good, a perfect being, one that needs no lies, one that tells the truth with good intent, right? And also understands any kind of criticism because the other person will be criticizing constructively with love, with the will of trying to help. So when we have this exchange, it becomes a truly beautiful thing. So when Ben Franklin is talking about sincerity, again, he's talking about being this good moral person that has good intent in what he speaks and not being brutally honest to the point of being cruel with your words, so you can mask those cruel words under the truth. That kind of kills the whole thing. So be honest. That's one of the things. Think innocently and just. Now, how many of us are ready to say that we are just? God is just, but are we just? Can we have information to really pass on what is just and what is not just? Even in the Spiritist movement or any kind of churches, we have people of the same faith, and they consider this church or that Spiritist center, oh, that's a good one, that's a bad one, this is this. And they're passing judgments without ever having stepped inside of the place. So they're actually spreading falsehood because they have no real firsthand knowledge of what they're saying. So let's be very careful of passing any kind of information without us ourselves knowing that it is true. There's a story, one of Chico's book, Chico Xavier's book. So the story goes that this man approaches Socrates, and he goes to Socrates and he says, "Oh, Socrates, I heard something that I must tell you." And then Socrates stops him right away and says, "Wait, whatever you're going to tell me, first, is it true? Are you sure of what you're telling me before you tell me?" So this man goes, "Well, actually, I'm not 100% sure that it's true. I heard, someone told me," or, today's day we would say we saw it on Facebook, social media, or the reporter on the news told me. So Socrates said, "Okay, usually when someone is telling me something that they themselves are not sure that is completely true, I'd rather not even hear it. I'd rather not even listen to it, especially if they're speaking about another person." So the conversation would have been done. But Socrates goes on and says, "Okay, all right, so you're not sure that it's completely true, but is it something good? Is what you're going to tell me, or was it the information you were going to pass to me, was it a good thing?" So then the person who was about to tell Socrates says, "Well, actually, it's the opposite. It's not good. It's not something good." So Socrates says, "Well, so first, you're not sure if it's true. Second, it's not something good. Okay, so let's try at least the third. Is it useful? Is it something useful? Something that I can do something about it for the goodness?" And the person says, "Actually, it really has no utility." So Socrates has these three cries of truth, these three things that before he would accept any talk, he would ask the person first: is it true? Is it good? And is it useful? So how about, and that goes completely into the topic of sincerity. When you are about to speak about anybody else, or when you're about to speak or tell anything, say anything about anything, first of all, if you really put these filters, right? The filter, the first one of truth. So you hear something on the news and you call and you're about to call someone and pass on that information. Oh, do you know what happened? And this person did this. And I heard that that politician just did this. Well, it's funny because even on the news, especially, depending what channel you watch, it's a completely type of different information. So I prefer to not even, I prefer to not watch TV really. I watch my shows, my series, but the news it's so covered in falsehood and really partidary, and it's really no longer facts. But once you find the facts, then okay, you have a plausible way to go on and move on with that information if you do, if it is true. And that goes for information that you also hear. If someone comes to tell you, oh, did you hear Deborah? I heard something about her. Oh, did you hear about the spiritist that she takes part of? Oh boy, I'm going to tell you something. So if you're about to listen to that information, stop the person, excuse me, stop the person and ask them, wait, before you tell me anything, is what you're going to tell me true? Are you absolutely true of what you're about to tell me? Not a heard of or someone told me. Is it true? You see, people will stop right there because that's too much. See, that is questioning. That is what Spiritism is all about. Kardec would question. Kardec would never, ever take one answer as the truth. So much that for him to get and compile all his work, he would have to have different spiritist centers from having answers from all different types of spirits, and they all would have to have the same answer for him to consider that answer correct. Not one person would come and say the truth and speak something and that would be taken as the truth. That is why it's so important for especially for mediums to not listen to one spirit and take that as truth, because that might not even be the spirit that you're thinking that it is. So even after that, is it true? If it's not true, is it good? How many of us are really spreading goodness, good words, things that are motivating, things that are not just motivating, but things that will brighten someone's day, give them ideas, give them hope? Those are the words that should be coming out of our mouth for us to call and say, hey, I heard, it's a fact that now your child will be able to take will be able to take college credits, college classes for free in your town. That's true. I verified this information. It's actually now a new program in our town, and it was signed. So you're telling the truth. You're saying something good. And lastly, it's useful because that parent will take that information and will enhance the life of their child. You see, this is a perfect type of a human being passing on information, because a lot of times too, we will listen to information and it's quite disappointing because people will give us a lot of false hope. A lot of times they'll tell us something that is completely not true, and we lift up our hope, and then it just comes right down because they did not give us the correct information. Secondly, even though it was good information, it was not useful information because we can do nothing with an information that has no truth to it. So if we think about it today, if we start exercising these three filters, when you speak and when you gain information, is it true? Is it good? And is it useful? A lot of times we can be sincere, but we can be so rude in our sincerity. How many of us also use of the passive aggressive way? Oh, that church is amazing. You should really go there because that person has so much knowledge. They're saying something in such an ironic way, and it's not true. It's not good. It's not useful, and it'll create even more chaos. And we see this all the time. If we stop to really think and say, let me be the example of these of this tale of this fact of being true, of being good, of being useful. And another thing is, when we're about to criticize, because Ben Franklin was talking also about speak and speak accordingly, but to also think innocently. So think innocently. Give people the benefit of the doubt. Act with indulgence. And again, that's one of the definitions of what charity should be: to be good to all, to be indulgent, and to be forgiving. So being indulgent is to give people the benefit of the doubt. If you don't have the whole information, don't assume, don't judge so quickly. Don't come to a judgment and you just write that person off because someone said that they do this or they did this or whatever. You see why those three um, filters are so good in our lives? Because then we can exercise everything else. Um, if we are going to think innocently and just, then we have to exercise indulgence all of the time. If we don't exercise indulgence, for us to say, someone comes to you and says, oh, I hear that Vanessa, or Deborah, she's doing some things that are not, I don't know, that's illegal. Did you hear about what she's doing? um Maybe she did that for a reason, and maybe it's not illegal. Or maybe, how about, well, let's listen from Deborah, or let's give her time. Or Vanessa's changing the time for something. Oh, I hear it's because she's um does it, she, I don't know, whatever it is. Well, maybe she changed the time of a show or whatever for a different reason. Maybe because more people would be able to listen, or maybe because she has a conflict with her job, or maybe, let's not be so quick to pass a judgment and say, oh, because she's lazy, because she doesn't want to wake up early anymore, or because, you see that? So the minute that we start using indulgence, and this is the key question, one of the key questions on the Spirit's book: what is the true meaning of charity? Indulgence. Give people the time, the benefit of, for you to truly understand their truth, because your truth may be very different than their truth. And lastly, I wanted to say, when people criticize, Emmanuel, Chico Xavier's spiritual guide, he would say something very interesting. When you are about to criticize or to give this idea that differ from how things have been done, be the first to also volunteer to do that, to be the change. Don't we have that? Be the change you want in the world. So if you're about to criticize somebody else's work, be sure that you can offer different alternatives for them with kindness. And maybe you can show them an easier, a better, a healthier way, but not with arrogance. That is not sincerity. That is arrogance. That is brutality. That is actually the complete opposite of kindness. But when you criticize in a way in which you put yourself to help in a different alternative way of doing whatever it is that you're criticizing, then you're moving, you're bringing the whole planet to a different level. But just to criticize and say, oh, I can't believe that politician is doing that, or I can't believe that that Spiritist Center no longer offers this, or oh yeah, their medium classes, it's ridiculous, they have to just stick to their own book and we can't bring another addendum to the class. Well, before you say these things, how about you say, well, if the politician just started this new whatever, um, this new bill, and they're trying to pass it on, and I don't agree with it. See, words will just make this earth more polluted if you're not going to do something good about it. The only way to counteract evil is with love. It doesn't matter. Mud is mud. Evil words are evil words. Even if you mean to target someone who's evil, you do not target evil with evil. You target evil with love. So there's no excuse for us to spread such pollution in our social media, in our lives, with our family, with people we don't like, because we are just contributing to this pollution in the world. So once you say, oh, I don't agree with that, what the politician pretends to do, I really don't like the way the Spiritist Center is handling that one study, or, my friend, she's starting to do this, and this is awful. Well, be the first one to go and call the legislation, to call to change legislation. Go write a letter. Go pick it. Go do something about it. You see, speaking ill will only produce more pollution in the world. If you don't agree with the way the class is being handled in your school and your children's school and your Spiritist center and your church, speak with the person responsible. Bring out why that class is not really being a quality class. Bring alternatives, but put yourself out there to be the helper on that class. Don't create these great, amazing ideas and give it to somebody else to do it. Take responsibility and be the change you want. Be part of that change. Don't just keep giving people criticism and giving them no alternatives, and also not volunteering yourself to be part of the solution. You see, that is a big, very, very big problem if we just keep criticizing things and we don't put ourselves in front of taking that project or being part of that project for the change. That is what I have to say today, everyone. I hope that we talked a little bit about Ben Franklin's seventh virtue, which is sincerity. Next Sunday, we'll be here again. I don't believe I'll be able to stream next Sunday on Kardec Radio because I won't have my computer with me. And I apologize if something happens because I'll be in a spot with bad internet. Well, let's hope that I won't. I don't want to prophesy and then write self-fulfilled prophecy and then I will. Let's hope that I have great internet next week. If it happens where I don't, then we'll do it the following week, okay? But I will see you all. I wish you a wonderful, wonderful Sunday. And let's start. Make sure it's the truth. Make sure it's something good. And make sure it's useful. This goes for whatever it is that you're about to speak or whatever it is that someone's about to speak to you. Kisses, and I hope to see you guys next week.